Hello my friends, my family, my esteemed colleagues. Here we are again. Today I want to discuss a little bit about atherosclerosis. Now, we are being told always that as we get older, our arteries and veins are becoming more and more brittle, which causes problems. And because we eat too much of a fat, especially animal fat, we produce a lot of cholesterol, which then starts sedimenting on these inside of these blood vessels, especially arteries, and this is why we get this circulatory problem and problem with our blood vessels, calling the atherosclerosis. Now, why we cannot find a real solution to this problem and help to heal the body is a problem of our education, because we are focusing, as usual, on the wrong thing. We are focusing on fat. And we assume we are eating fat, automatically body produces cholesterol, which is absolutely incorrect. Actually, vegetarians usually have higher cholesterol than meat eaters. So, where the problem arises? First, I mentioned before that even if we eat cholesterol, we cannot absorb it, because cholesterol is protein bonded fat. So we cannot absorb foreign protein. So first thing the digestion does is breaks the bond and separates the fatty acids from the protein. And it absorbs fatty acids by itself, separately, and then protein has to be broken down further into amino acids. And amino acids, they don't bear signature of the body where protein was produced, so they can be then absorbed. They absorb in the intestine, in the small intestine. And before fat can be pushed into the bloodstream, it has to be emulsified, because fat clumps. So blood is basically water plasma. So it would not disperse there. This is why it first has to be emulsified, and body does it two ways. Either by bonding the fatty acids onto protein, producing cholesterol, or to glycerol, producing triglycerides. Now, first choice is going to be the cholesterol. Why? Because the amount of cholesterol that will be produced is related to the cellular demand for cholesterol. So only the amount and the type of cholesterol that is demanded is going to be produced. And if there is more fat, if we ate more than necessary, then the rest of the fat is going to be bonded to glycerol and produce triglycerides, which serve as fuel deposits. And if the cells can use them immediately, they will use them as soon as they hit the bloodstream. And if it's more than necessary, then they will be deposited in adipose tissue as fat reserves. Now, if you know that the fat reserves are basically triglycerides, then you also have to understand that most of the fat from a meat that you are eating is in a form of triglyceride, not cholesterol. The cholesterol comes basically from the meat itself, breaking the cellular membrane of all animals is made out of cholesterol. And this is where the cholesterol will mostly be coming from. All the cholesterol that our body has is the cholesterol that the body has made because of the demand. So here is your answer why vegetarians often have high blood cholesterol, because the cells are in need of it. Why? When I was talking about, for example, diabetes, I said that cells are irritated by insulin and they will want to reinforce their membranes to minimize the irritation, and demand for cholesterol will be risen. And people who eat a lot of carbohydrates are vegetarians, because basically their energy source is dietary glucose, while people who eat meat, they will absorb fats, and then intestine will produce cholesterol necessary, and it will not have to be done by liver, which is a case with people who thrive on carbohydrates. The whole system is turned upside down. Now, why does fat, but it's not only fat, every doctor knows that the blockages in arteries are not made by cholesterol itself. There is a cholesterol because it's a sticky stuff. So there is a cholesterol, but there are all kinds of other cells that normally circulate in the blood. They are in there. You have leukocytes, you have thrombocytes, you have you have red blood cells as well. So everything there is clumped. Now, why? When I was talking about problems, these problems already in other videos, I mentioned that for anything to stick to the inner wall of artery or vein, first, electromagnetic potential has to be reduced. Because as long as we have a strong, high electromagnetic potential, magnetic field is high. And since the inner coating of arteries and veins is positively charged, and so are all the things that float in the blood, they naturally repel. So cholesterol cannot get attached. Now, some smart heads say that LDL is a fine protein cholesterol that embeds itself. That's a nonsense, pure nonsense. It cannot embed itself, it is being pushed away. Now, why in older people we have a higher instance of atherosclerosis than in young people? Well, basically because older people are more toxic. It's always coming back to the same thing, toxicity. A higher toxicity of the blood will then create dehydration and acidity on a cellular level, which starts depleting our energy, because the cells cannot hold the electrical charge if the acidity is wrong, and they get discharged even if they are doing nothing. Same like car battery. If you put too much acid in it, it will not hold the charge. You charge it and the charge is going to leak out. Same is with our cells. Our body is a robot, and same parameters apply to it as to the robots that we make, you know, from carbon, steel, and whatever. So, first, the electromagnetic potential has to be reduced. This is done through toxicity. As we get older, higher toxicity, bingo, lower electromagnetic potential. And as we feel weaker, well, our magnetic fields are getting much smaller, and then contact is possible. Now, this is one reason why. Now, contact itself is not going to deposit anything as well. What needs to be done is the magnetic charge has to be broken. So, why is the obstruction of arteries happening around the heart. It's always here. It's never down in the legs. Okay? Very seldom in the brain. It's always around the heart. Because here, blood pressure is the strongest. And the brittle arteries that lost flexibility, you pump high pressure there, well, the artery is going to burst. So they develop cracks. As the crack develops, there is a change of polarity, because as the blood vessel, as a tube, is positively charged inside, it's negatively charged on the outside. If you get a crack opens up and there is a negative charge. And bingo, you have a positive cells from the blood getting stuck there. This is your temporary protection, so you don't bleed internally. Your blood your blood elements, which is cholesterol, but any other cell in the body, will get stuck in there to fill the cracks so you don't bleed. Unfortunately, we never allow body to heal. So as one crack is filled, another opens up that has to be filled, and it goes always in a similar area because of the highest pressure, and always in the similar areas we have these obstructions. Now, if we would allow body to heal, then the polarity would return and would pop off the coagulated stuff and dissolve it. But it doesn't happen because we are never being told how to heal. We are, matter of fact, being continued poisoned by medication that our doctor gives us, because they are not healing medication, they are just suppressant of symptoms. So we pretend that we are better, when actually we are not. We think, oh, blood pressure is down, oh fine, I'm good. No, by bleeding you and releasing the part of your blood, this will release and lower your blood pressure, but this is not healing. This is actually making things worse, because now you are getting low on fluids. And we know that this prevents cleansing of the blood, which makes blood even more toxic. So why do the arteries or veins at the same point become brittle with age? Well, it's not the age problem, it's the toxicity problem. And this is why now we have the same problem of atherosclerosis in every younger population, because younger population is more toxic, because again, it's being more and more brainwashed into wrong parameters. You have more and more vegans and vegetarians, so what do you expect? Now, why I blame vegetables for this? Because the source of your energy in vegetables is glucose. It's starch. It's a sugar that's not sweet. And when it comes into the blood, first it increases insulin, it increases the transporting mechanism, so more absorption of sugar can be done. It puts a burden on liver to convert it into fat, because body cannot store glucose, has no deposits on it, and the glycogen it produces out of fat. It does not produce it out of glucose that we eat. These are all baloney stories. It's not like this. So basically, liver has to convert this glucose into fat, and then to fill demands of cholesterol, it will produce cholesterol as well. Since demands of cholesterol are higher, because cells have a problem dealing with all the side effects of glucose, it's normal that insulin will cholesterol levels are going to increase, but also absorption of sugars, fatty liver comes in, all this stuff as I was talking about in other videos. Now, but there is another thing. Every time liver converts glucose into fat, side effect is production of uric acid. So blood is being acidified. But it's missing plasma, begin with. I'm purposely saying not water, but plasma, because it's not water that's missing only, it's actually the minerals, the electrolytes. And what happens is that body cannot eliminate all this uric acid because it would waste too much water. So it chooses to just take it away from the circulation. So it will crystallize them in the kidneys and you have your kidney stones. But there is another problem connected to this, because the first response to increased acidity is to neutralize it using buffers. Buffer most used is alkaline phosphatase. Now, where do we have a big deposits of alkaline phosphatase? In bones. Why? Because bones basically have two active types of cells that are involved in reconstructing and remodeling the bones all the time. Because body is efficient. If we gain weight, body will make bones stronger. If we lose weight, body will weaken the bones. There is no need for strong bones in a light body. Or if you make high impact sports, stuff like this, body will adjust. But to do this, it needs two types of cells. It needs one type of a cell that is going to dissolve the bone, and those are osteoclasts. And they dissolve it because they are acidic. So they squirt acids, acid melts the calcium. The calcium gets into the bloodstream, it goes into circulation, and bone is being reshaped. The collagen fibers are being put in proper spot, and then another type of a cell, which is called the osteoblast, it is going to alkalize the area with what? With the same buffer that blood needs to maintain alkalinity. It's the phosphatase. So now if our blood is getting acidic, well, blood has priority over bones, because if blood becomes more acidic, we die. Blood has always to be slightly alkaline. So as the acidity starts increasing, immediately body goes into the buffers and will use what buffer it has in the blood. It will use buffers from the liver, and then it will go into the bones, and it will summit the buffers from osteoblast. Now the buffer is in the blood, alkalizing the blood so we can live eating the crap that we are eating. But at the same time, now osteoblast does not have enough alkalinity to alkalize the place to redeposit the calcium. So the calcium levels start increasing, and there is a platform that if the calcium level increase, the body starts eliminating the calcium, and we start urinating it. And every person that has osteopenia, osteoporosis, is urinating calcium. The reason is not because they're eating fat, it's because they're eating carbohydrates. Okay? Now, the levels, blood levels of calcium are constantly high. And the only thing that is alkaline in your body basically is your blood, which means the walls of your arteries. Now, if they lose the magnetic force, Now the magnesium will be getting there, ping, and it may start actually calcifying your blood vessels. And this is how the arteriosclerosis occurs. So it is contrary to what we are being told. It is not the fat, it's actually, again, the dietary glucose. Again, I mentioned the term dietary glucose because if I just say glucose or carbohydrate, I get bombarded by know-it-alls. Well, you eat banana, banana is carbohydrate. Well, there are, as I always mention, in nature, the carbohydrate is always enveloped inside of cellulose, so it cannot affect animals. Animals cannot digest it, it cannot get into the body. The way to break the cellulose is to heat the product up. So as soon as you heat your grains, as soon as you heat your potatoes, as soon as you heat your carrot, you are basically breaking the envelope of cellulose and you are making glucose available for absorption. Animals in nature do not do this, and they don't have any chronic problem, health problem. Only humans do this thing to themselves. And since women are the ones traditionally cooking for the family or for the man, this is why in Bible says Eve gave the forbidden fruit to Adam. The forbidden fruit is the glucose, the dietary glucose. So here you see that not only that we are being told complete baloney story, there's nothing to do with the truth, but we are purposefully being, through schooling system, focused on this particular thing. Fat, fat, fat. Cholesterol is fat. What you eat is fat. Bingo, here it is. This is childish thinking. And unfortunately, all these professors are big children if they repeat the stupidity that we are being told. And nobody thinks. We just trust that the one who is recognized knows it all, and we should take it for granted whatever they say. And because we trust, we are in this situation. The only thing you can trust is your own experience, and use your logic. Don't close, don't shut the door to information. Information comes, absorb it, and give it time so the brain can utilize it in calculating process. And eventually it is going to click. This is why I keep repeating the same thing over and over and over for 20 years. And now it's a great divide. Some people get it, some people don't. Who doesn't get it are the professionals, because we are so brainwashed from schools that we just absolutely cannot fathom that what we have been told was a child's story, completely false. So, cholesterol is your friend. You need it. Don't ever, ever, ever use statins. If cholesterol is higher, just think, where could be the problem? Why do cells need more cholesterol? What's bothering them? And you will get to it. As soon as you solve cellular problem, cholesterol normalizes. But again, what we are being told that normal cholesterol is based on glucoholics, on people who eat carbohydrates. Actually, people who eat correctly, omnivore diet, which is basically animal products and fruits, they normally have cholesterol a little higher, about 240, 250. This is a normal cholesterol. we always take parameters of average human being as a normal, but average human being is toxic, eats incorrectly, and of course all parameters that are in his body are geared to the ambient that he has created in his body. So we cannot take it as a normal. The normal would be any animal in the wild. Not domestic, because we also feed the same crap to domestic animals. This is why domestic pig can hardly walk, how fat it gets. In the nature it never happens. Because in the nature, pigs don't have access to dietary carbohydrate. And they do not eat it, they eat fat, animal products. So, take it in consideration, think about it. You want to heal, you have to switch to correct diet. You have to, for one, eliminate, not reduced, eliminate dietary glucose. Eliminate the forbidden fruit, and you will come back to Eden. It's all in here. The changes are absolutely necessary. To cleanse the blood, you need plasma, water plasma, seawater, water with minerals. So, if you don't live near sea, take sea salt, not bleached, not iodized, just natural, plain sea salt. Mix it with water, drink it. This will increase your plasma level very rapidly, and the first thing body will do is go into cleansing mode, to cleanse the blood, and then when blood is cleansed, cells will start absorbing it, and you go into cellular cleansing. And after that, healing process kicks in. So think about this information and proceed the way you wish to. I cannot force you. You can take horse to the water, you cannot make him drink. See you next time.